They say civilization is only as strong as the rules that hold it together. But what happens when the rules disappear? What happens when structure collapses? When authority dissolves? And when children, who were once protected by society, are left completely on their own? Lord of the Flies answers that question in the most unsettling way possible, not by showing how children become monsters, but by showing how the monsters were inside them all along. The story begins with a plane crash. A group of English schoolboys, stranded on an uninhabited island during a war, find themselves without adults, no teachers, no parents, no leaders. At first, it sounds like an adventure. Freedom, beaches, fruit trees, and no rules. But freedom without structure isn't freedom, it's chaos waiting to erupt. The boys quickly realize they need order. They elect Ralph as their leader. Ralph is calm, rational, and focused on rescue. He believes in rules, fire, and cooperation. To him, survival depends on staying organized. He represents civilization, imperfect, but necessary. Then there's Piggy, Ralph's closest ally. Piggy is intelligent, thoughtful, logical, and physically vulnerable. He can't run or fight. He wears glasses that everyone depends on for fire. Piggy represents reason, the mind that tries to think before acting. But there's another figure growing in the background, Jack. Jack is everything Ralph isn't. Emotional, impulsive, hungry for power, and obsessed with hunting. He doesn't want to be saved. He wants to rule. He wants control. He wants admiration. And when people fear you, admiration comes easily. From the very beginning, the island becomes a stage for a psychological war. Ralph versus Jack. Order versus chaos. Reason versus instinct. Civilization versus savagery. And the other boys, caught in the middle, drift toward whichever side promises them more power, more excitement, or more safety. Have you ever seen a group fall apart because people chose excitement over stability? Have you ever watched someone lose power simply because someone else was louder or angrier? Have you ever witnessed a group follow the strongest voice instead of the wisest one? That is exactly what happens here. At first, things are hopeful. Ralph builds shelters. Piggy helps organize tasks. The boys tend the signal fire so ships might see them. There's still a chance of rescue. But Jack wants something different. He forms a hunting group. He paints his face. He teaches the boys to chant, to dance, to follow instinct instead of logic. And slowly, the boys begin to slip away from Ralph's leadership. Why? Because savagery feels easier than responsibility. Emotion feels easier than discipline. Chaos feels easier than order. This is the core of the book's psychology. People don't always choose the right thing. They choose the exciting thing, the quick thing, the thing that makes them feel powerful. Ralph offers work. Jack offers thrill. Which would you choose at age 12? Then something changes. The boys begin to fear a creature they call the Beast. They don't know what it is, they imagine it. They fear it. They talk about it. They create it in their minds long before they ever see anything. And here lies one of the greatest truths of the novel. People don't need a real threat to become violent. The idea of a threat is enough. Fear is contagious. Fear turns groups into mobs. Fear demands leaders who promise safety. Even if the promise is a lie, Jack uses fear to gain power. Ralph tries to use reason. Guess who wins? To the boys, fear feels more real than reason. Jack becomes their protector. Ralph becomes irrelevant. Have you ever noticed how fear can make groups follow the wrong leader? How fear makes people abandon logic? How fear becomes a tool for manipulation? Jack promises to kill the beast. The boys cheer. Ralph asks them to think. The boys shrug. This is how civilization collapses. Not in a moment, but in a series of choices where fear wins over reason. And then comes Simon. Simon is different. Quiet, gentle, and deeply intuitive. He represents human goodness, pure and untouched. He senses the truth. The beast isn't an animal. It isn't something out there. It is inside them, inside all of them. The real monster is not a creature hiding in the forest. The real monster is their own fear, their own violence, their own darkness. But Simon's truth is too frightening for the boys to accept. When Simon discovers the beast is actually the dead parachutist, he runs to tell the others, but he arrives during one of Jack's frenzied rituals. Drumming, dancing, chanting, the boys losing themselves in pure emotion. They see a figure emerge from the jungle. They don't recognize him. They don't think. They attack. Simon is killed by the very boys he wanted to save. Human nature, stripped of rules, becomes tragic and violent. Have you ever watched a group turn on someone innocent? Have you ever seen kindness misinterpreted as threat? Have you ever seen how easy it is for people to lose themselves in emotion? Simon's death marks the point of no return. The boys have crossed a line they can never uncross. After that, Jack becomes the unquestioned leader. His tribe steals Piggy's glasses, his only way to see, and the island's only way to make fire. Without fire, there is no rescue, but Jack doesn't care about rescue anymore. He cares only about dominance. Piggy, desperate and nearly blind, goes to Jack's camp to retrieve his glasses. He stands on the cliffs, pleading for sense, for reason, for decency. Roger, Jack's cruelest follower, pushes a boulder. Piggy falls to his death. His glasses shatter. Reason dies with him, and now the island belongs fully to savagery. Ralph becomes the last remaining symbol of civilization. Jack decides he must be eliminated. A hunt begins, not for food, not for safety, but for power. Ralph runs through the burning forest as the boys, painted like warriors, chase him with spears. The fire that once symbolized hope now becomes a weapon. And then, just when all seems lost, a naval officer appears. The boys freeze, the masks come off, the savagery collapses. They begin to cry, not because they were saved, but because they finally see what they became. The officer expects discipline, organization, manners. Instead, he finds children who destroyed themselves. He says, "I should have thought that a pack of British boys would have been able to put up a better show." He doesn't understand. He cannot understand. He sees children, but we have seen what they truly are capable of. Lord of the Flies is not about children becoming violent. It is about people becoming violent when they believe no one is watching, when fear dominates, when power tempts, when rules disappear, when instinct drowns out morality. The book asks questions we still struggle with today. Is civilization just a thin layer, easily broken? Are humans naturally good, or do we simply behave because we fear consequences? How quickly would society collapse without structure? What happens to morality when no one is there to enforce it? Most importantly, does evil come from outside us? Or does it live inside us, waiting for permission? The island didn't change the boys, it revealed them. So let me end with the question, Lord of the Flies leaves us with, do you believe the darkness we saw on that island was created by the boys, or released from within them?